Hey guys, Ryan here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 SMGs in Warzone right now. We're going to be covering everything from the best attachments, the best sniper support SMG, and everything in between. If you enjoyed this video, do consider leaving a like, do consider subscribing. I just passed 600 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who's helped me get to this point. I just want to say thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have a good day. So, right now, I'm going to pull up the list of the top 5 SMGs. After I get done going through this list, I am going to have an honorable mentions list, but first I'm going to talk about the MP40. It's going to be pretty quick, and I'm actually going to talk about pretty much every other gun in relation to the MP40. The MP40 has been king for a while. I've talked about it in constant videos, and while I do have it number 1, this ranking and this list is in no particular order. I do think that the MP40 is just such a solid gun. It's worth using for almost anyone, but I will say I do think there's actually a couple better options out there in general, and that's kind of the main point in this video. When I talk about the Owen Gun, the Welgun, the PPSH and whatnot, I hope you guys do pay attention to those because I do think they're all competitors to the MP40 and it's something to pay attention to. So, moving on from the MP40, we're going to talk about the second gun on this list, the Lapa. Now, on the original list, I have the Owen Gun second, and I'm going to get into that here in a second. So the Lapa is outright one of my favorite SMGs to use right now, and I kind of want to thank True Game Data for putting me onto it again after I've kind of forgotten about it for a while. One of my favorite parts about this gun is the versatility it offers. I'm actually going to give you 2 builds. One is going to be the close range version you'd run with an AR, and one's going to be a sniper support variant, and this is one of my favorite sniper supports to use in the game. The build on the left with the BR compact barrel is the one you want to use with an AR, and the build on the right with the rifle barrel is the one you want to use as a sniper support. So do try this gun out. It is really good. I do think it's being slept on, and I think most people really enjoy using it. So the third gun we're going to cover in this video is going to be the Owen Gun. Now to me, the Owen Gun might just be the best SMG in the entire game. It is kind of my preferred sniper support SMG, and it's also one of my favorite SMGs to use with an assault rifle. Now, of course, this thing does have some drawbacks. The magazine on the right kind of obstructs your view. It's not as mobile as other SMGs, but it has so many positive sides to it that it makes up for all of those. It has super high damage, it has really good feel to it, and it also just has an insane magazine size. 72 bullets is not something to scoff at, and the reload time is not too long either. So you essentially have one of the biggest magazines on the game on one of the fastest killing SMGs in the entire game, and it also just feels good in the mid-range. It has a really steep damage drop off right around 20 meters, but between 0 and 20 meters it has some of the best damage in the entire game, and that's what makes it such a good sniper support SMG and just such a good SMG overall. I would highly recommend to use the Owen Gun. I'd highly recommend to try it out, and I really think most people are just sleeping on it, and I promise if you try it you're gonna understand why it's so good. So in the number 4 spot we're gonna have the Welgun, and this is part of the reason why I cannot really rank these guns. Because to me, between the Lapa, between the MP40, the Welgun, and the Owen Gun, I can't actually pick out a top SMG. It is super hard to do so because all of them have different strengths, they all feel really good, and all of them have super high time to kills. The build you just saw in the background was from Warzone loadout.games. I'd really recommend checking out their website and frequently using their website to get the best builds and attachments. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I just want to shout them out because they are a super important resource just as True Game Data is. But I want to say that the Welgun, guys, this thing, it's a beast. That's all there really is to it. I've even been sleeping on it myself. I haven't been giving it the proper attention it deserves. And I just got to say that I think overall, it's, as I said before, you cannot go wrong using either of the top 4 SMGs in my opinion. You can't go wrong using actually any of the 10 SMGs I'm going to list in total in this video. But I do really want to bring attention to guns like the Owen Gun, the Welgun, and the Lapa because I feel like they're just generally being slept on. I think they have an important spot in the meta and people just aren't trying them out because the MP40 and guns like that are overshining almost every other gun. And that's going to bring me to my 5th gun, the PPSH from Vanguard. Now this one is going to have 2 builds as well because there's 2 ways to use it. One is just in a normal SMG build, and then one is in a hipfire build. The hipfire build is being really slept on in my opinion, and so is the normal SMG build. So once again, I'm going to be grabbing the loadouts from Warzone loadout.games. The close range build as a normal SMG is on the left and the hipfire build's on the right. I think both are perfectly meta. I think both are viable, and I'm not sure one is better than the other. But I do think that the hipfire build, particularly on Rebirth, and if you have a very aggressive playstyle on Caldera, is especially being slept on. Now, I keep using that term slept on, and the reason why I say this is because if you just look at the objective data, if you look at the pick rate, if you just look at how many people are actually using these guns, it's not as high as it should be, in my opinion. For all of the guns on this list, I don't think the proportional amount of people are using these guns. I think there's too many people using guns like the MP40, the Brent, and all of that, when I do think there's competitive options that might be even slightly better. Now, I'm not saying every other gun on this list is better than the MP40, for example, but how many times have you legitimately seen the PPSH being used recently? I do not see it that often when I'm playing, and part of me is very thankful for that. If someone were to have very good movement with the hipfire build on the PPSH, they could absolutely destroy someone with an MP40, because the mobility that hipfire offers will give you an advantage in 1v1 close range gunfights in comparison to most other SMGs. When you are in those close range gunfights, being able to hipfire reliably and consistently makes centering easier, it makes aiming easier, and it makes hitting your shots way easier. Of course, that means there's some room for variance in your shots and the hipfire spread, but that's where the mobility factor comes in, and that's where you're hoping to make your opponent miss a couple shots on the sheer fact that you don't have to slow down with aiming down sight and all of that. So that's why I want people to keep their mind open and to consider using guns like the PPSH, to consider using guns like the Owen Gun, the Welgun, and all of that. And in fact, I have 5 more SMGs. I'm not going to get into their attachments, but I'm going to put up a list of honorable mention SMGs, and I just want to explain something about these guns. If you were to use these guns, you're probably going to be okay. Unless you are the sweatiest of sweatiest players, unless you need to use the absolute best guns in the entire game, you really should not worry about this. In my opinion, if you're to use any of those 5 guns, or almost any other SMG that you want, you're going to be more than good enough. I left off guns like the Bullfrog, the PPSH from Vanguard. I left guns like the Type 100, the Sten, so many guns that I think are actually absolutely amazing. If there is one thing I really wish I could make clear to people right now, is that you have so much freedom to use almost whatever you like. Of course, there are certain guns like the Brand and MP40 that really stand out in power, but of course, more so with the MP40 than the Brand, there are really good competitors with those guns. The Brand does feel a little bit better than almost every other AR in the mid-range, but the MP40 has more than enough competitors in the close range for it to not be an absolute must to use in and of itself. So many times it feels like there's just 1 or 2 guns that if you're not using, you just feel absolutely helpless. And I just want to make clear with the SMG meta, that's really not the case right now. And that's one thing I really want to stress in this video. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I once again just want to thank you guys for helping me get to 600 subscribers. I essentially started this YouTube about a year ago, and I cannot believe the amount of support, the amount of people who've watched my videos, all of that. I seriously cannot believe it. And I just want to say thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for being a part of this channel and a part of my journey so far. And I really can't wait to see where we go in another year. I hope you guys enjoy this video. It's been Ryan. Peace.